My name's Joseph Beard. Many of you who will get this know me. I am the purveyor of evil, according to Rutherford County, my son's mother, her family, and many others. Actually, I'm the antithesis of that. I have done everything I can to prove my innocence on everything. When I was accused of aggravated burglary in 2021, had an order of protection put on me that was illegal, but nothing done then, and interrogated over. Accused of harassing my ex, proved my innocence there. When I proved my innocence there, it was ignored again. I was forced into deals because I was told either A, I'm going to drop charges, recharge you, and have you put in jail immediately. And that is being told that through my attorney over one said case. And then other times made to take the deal because of what was going on with the situation and how it was being pushed out. One thing I do want to make very clear, I do not think all cops are bad. I do not think all judges have a motive, nor do I think all DAs or ADAs. But, and one more thing, when people who receive this are going to try to say I'm speaking ill of Judge Barry Tidwell in Rutherford County, I'm not. Anyone I've ever had an issue with, I call them by name. Judge Tidwell is the only one that I've had to meet, unfortunately, in a circumstance I wouldn't want to, has been the only person I've ever had the ability to stand in front of, and he act very, very impartial. Not act with emotion, and act how you would expect a judge to. That's for you, Rutherford County, who likes to throw baseless accusations and have me charged. When it comes to aggravated, well, before I get to that, the only reason why all these things have gone on is because I legally did the right thing when it came to my son being abused again and again and again. I brought it forward, and it was either A, ignored, or in the words of Bo Davis, who is a Rutherford County detective, who is going to try to bring charges of abuse, told me that the reason why nothing was going to be done about a week later was that he was told that it was a no-fly zone and he could do nothing. That was his words, not mine. Before that and after that, it was either punted to Children's Services, who is wildly known to do nothing, or it's just not investigated. But after I would make a report a week or two later, I'm accused of something and forced into a deal. Because, I don't know. I am a man who's tried to do right. Not just by law, but morally. I've been through so much, and it's wild how everything that has proved my innocence is just ignored. A narrative has been pushed that I'm the big bad evil dad hurting the oh so innocent mother and her family. Mind you, when porn was made of my son, it was ignored. The officer, and this is according to Sergeant Mongold, that I found out years and years later, according, from him, he said that the report, when it was made by the officer, that she wrote it down as a courtesy call to not investigate. For her to write it up as child porn and not investigate, that's quite concerning. It makes me wonder, is my son a tool that's being used to come after me? These people who are supposed to care about all of us, or anyone who is a victim, doesn't care, especially those who are the most vulnerable. And because I dared to bring issues up and start pointing out what seems to be more than a coincidence, I'm gone after due to the connection to a certain officer who was fired, arrested, from what I can understand, put in prison and or deported because of things that he did that he shouldn't have done. His name's Terry McBurney, who was a family friend and neighbor to my ex, my son's mother, and her family. One thing that needs to be pointed out, normally when someone meets the parents of a girlfriend or whomever, especially the one who's pregnant with your child, you meet them in a somewhat comfortable situation, maybe a restaurant that's real nice or their home, not at said dirty cop's house. I didn't really put that together until years later because of worrying more about my son and myself. In 2021, I was accused of aggravated burglary. It's a pretty heinous crime. Discovery proved my innocence, and so on. My witness, who was yelled at and called a liar, proved my innocence, and it was ignored. Did I handle everything in my case to the best? One incident, no. There's recorded conversations of me saying I was wrong here, but outside of that, I wasn't. When certain issues were coming up in said case and trying to give it to the judge, I was told that these issues were kept from the judge. That proved some very, very bad things that were being done by people who were supposed to be representing my interest. In May, I believe, of last year, 2024, I was accused of threatening to kill the DA, Jenny Jones, in Rutherford County, and suicidal, and all these things. I did not know of such until I got a phone call from my mother one morning saying that Agent Michael Newberg from Homeland Security, which kind of find out it's Tennessee Homeland Security, they have their own, and some Dixon officers come to her house. She was shaken up, upset, so on. I ended up talking to the agent, Mr. Newberg, and he's asking a lot of questions that seem vague, but anything that would have smoothed the problem out was made, and thought it was good. Went to check on my mother, walked to her house. I was actually speaking to the only friend I have left on the phone, walking to her house. As soon as I enter her house to talk to her, the house is surrounded. South Hummingbird Lane in Dixon was closed off, and a SWAT team was sent after me because of me being accused of threatening to kill the DA. I didn't find that out until after I got out of jail, 2 months after taking a deal to a charge that I didn't even want to take because I'm innocent. It was amazing how, in jail, I peacefully and quietly protested. I went on a hunger strike. Wrote down what I was doing and my intentions on the paper. I made it quietly so no inmate knew. And I gave it to the young lady. And it was just handled properly. I was accused of being suicidal, which, if going on a hunger strike is suicidal, that's a very, very slow death. Placed in a cell with several other people, naked. No underwear, no socks, no pants, no shirt, just a thing that looks like a tank top that looks like and feels like it's made out of a moving blanket. from that point of my understanding from the law that I'm supposed to be put in a mental health hospital or whatever. I'm supposed to be talked to by a psychiatrist. After speaking to two on video chat, I'm told that I'm going to be moved and so on. Well, apparently something supposedly happened. A third person gets involved, supposedly, and I'm not going anywhere. But yet, for around 5 more days, give or take a day, I'm held naked in a cold cell, and it's just okay. Now, if that was done to someone else, say one individual did it to another, to me that sounds like torture. You're holding someone wrongly, naked, in a place with no pillow, no blanket, no clothes, against their will. That sounds like torture. But that didn't matter. I got staph, which is said to be a spider bite. Everyone who's gotten this knows what a spider bite does. The only reason why I got treatment for said spider bite was because I was talking about it constantly over the phone after telling people and doing the right thing to get it taken care of. It took me talking about it numerous times on the phone, and a nice size area of my leg having a pretty big hole in it from where it's just being eaten away. Now, all this being done seems more obvious when you look at the whole grand picture, scheme, whatever. Many years ago, I started reaching out to then Governor Haslam, the Department of Justice, Middle District, Tennessee, which went to Jimmy Lynn Ramser. And actually, at the, I guess you could say, my brother telling me, just give it a shot. I can't think of the word I was wanting to use. Why not write the precedent? Send all this stuff you're sending to these people, to the governor and the DOJ. Give it a shot. What's the chance of them even seeing it anyways? But it's worth a shot. I did. And because I started reaching out to these people, and Jimmy Lynn Ramser made things known to Jennings Jones, I no longer had the letter because it supposedly got lost in the mail, which I find that highly unlikely, because it was going to be with a bunch of other papers that would have been in a big envelope. It's highly unlikely it got lost in the mail. But anyways, showing that he was made aware of the situation, and I would think, just, me being me and other people would think, Miss Ramser sent all the stuff I sent her to Jennings Jones. Not long afterwards, I tried to reach out to his office. I was told they got nothing, and I couldn't set an appointment up with Mr. Jennings Jones, which I find just disturbing because of what's being done by the police and what's being ignored. Years later, when I did make that call to the FBI about child porn being ignored made of my son, I got harassed for nearly a month. Followed everywhere, got surrounded in the Walmart parking lot on Old Fort Park in Murfreesboro by 2 officers, boxed in, and then after a couple seconds they left. Where I was staying at the time, when I finally got out of being homeless and living in my car, they would drive by the place I was staying once an hour, every hour, and one night an officer was sitting next to the vehicle I owned at the time, or 2 officers. They saw me walk by through a door, and I went to get something at the place I was staying at. And as I headed back up, and I looked out the window where I was staying, another officer showed up, sitting next to my car. Never came in, but it seemed kind of suspicious because the place I was staying at, there was never an issue. No crime, theft, cars being broken into, nothing. A young man who worked for, it would be Judge Ben McFarland. It was the previous sitting judge, not his son, who's sitting in his seat now. I talked to a young man who worked in his office, told him about what was going on, and it wasn't 24 hours later all that stopped. Nice young man. He always wore a Braves lanyard. He listened to what I had to say, and it was handled. But that's during while I'm being accused of aggravated burglary in the court. That's how long it took me to find out that stuff was ignored by Murfreesboro Police Department, that one officer, over child porn. I had my life threatened by my son's mother, her ex-husband, and nothing was done. Nothing. Not by Murfreesboro Police, nor the Rutherford County Sheriff's Department. It was just ignored. And it seems like there's this big thing going on where because I spoke out, I've proven everything that I've ever said. It's just ignored. But I'm gone after because I dared to speak, prove my innocence, and so on. Many of you who will get this knew me, have known me for years, going as far back as when we were 13, 14 years old. Now, I look like I've aged probably 10 years. I had an officer, when I was in jail, who I know very well, looked at me and goes, "Holy shit, man, you look old." That's how much this whole thing has aged me, because of what's being done to my son, who I miss dearly. And worrying about him, and then trying to fight for myself at the same time. Right now, I've got a person who has openly lied, knows it, deleted things that proved that I was doing what I was supposed to when I wasn't even ordered to do it, and is trying to get me thrown back in jail, which I find odd why it would be done, because I've dealt with people that are in that same position in the past, and they've never acted the way this person has. But I guess exercising several different things and applying the law and giving me what the law allows me due to the fact that it was an escalation, the law permits me to appeal it. I was not given said appeal. I was not even known of said appeal until I did my research. It was obvious when said deal was given over the aggravated burglary charge that I took to get out of jail, that I was in for 2 months, that it was not desired. When said deal was given, I was ordered to be released by Judge Tidwell, whom has been very good. Very, very good. I was held in jail until 6:37, then finally brought down because I was going to be released. So we're talking between 6:30 and 7:30 at night, I believe. And then once I got downstairs, a bunch of people get released, and then I'm told by Miss Parker, who works in the jail, who has been nice, told me that she told me that I was not going to be allowed to leave jail unless I told them who my doctor was. If I refused, the earliest I would have gotten out would have been the following Monday, due to the day I was getting out was July 3rd. Butting up against the holiday, Monday would have been the earliest, if my attorney at the time would have been able to get to the judge right then. So I would have been wrongly held for numerous days if I argued it. All I've done is told the truth. All I've done is ask people who have had firsthand experience seeing what was done to my son and me wrongly to speak out, and they haven't. People who could speak on my character haven't. And some of these people are well respected in the community. Doctors, pharmacists, business owners in Rutherford County. And one pharmacist, and I'm not going to name any names, who was seen with the Attorney General not too long ago who, I guess, set up an event or was part of setting up an event in front of numerous pharmacists. This gentleman is the president over said organization that is highly respected in Tennessee, seeing how the Attorney General is holding a conference or speech or whatever with them. Attorney General Skrmetti. I know I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, and please forgive me. When it came to me being accused of threatening the DA in Rutherford County that got a SWAT team sent after me, not only did it scar my record, so when police pull it up, they're freaked out, and it deems now numerous officers to come after me or be present, which makes me look like the boogeyman, which I'm not. When I try to get information about this, like the report, who made it, what was used to make this baseless accusation, nothing exists. Nothing. I did a Freedom of Information request, or the Open Records Act. I followed the guidelines of it. That's under the state of Tennessee, and nothing exists. But supposedly I said something online. Don't know who said it, but the only time I found out that it was out of Rutherford County was one officer, whose name I won't say, because I don't want him to be retaliated against, told me that it came out of Rutherford County. And I found that out after I got out of jail. That day that a slew of cops came after me, screwed me up pretty good with guns and so on. He was one of the few officers who actually was trying to keep me from getting shot. One, I don't own a gun. I did a long time ago. Didn't have it long. And I sold it because I didn't like it. And the way things were handled afterwards, and all the officers except one I had no problem with. They listened to what I had to say, which I was calm and cool. And I think it was actually a very good conversation had that the officers were willing to hear. Numerous officers. A couple weeks ago, officers with the state of Tennessee came to my mother's house, 6 or 7 of them, for me, based on an accusation and things that should not be going on by a person right now. Came to my mother's house. I was not even informed of it. Then, because I wasn't here and I was at my job, they come to my job. I found out how things were being handled by the gas station across the street, and then how things were handled at my job. It seemed more or less it was blown way out, and to try to get me fired, which was really close to happening. And now there's it's highly likely that, again, I'm going to be put in jail wrongly for things that I'm accused of that are not true. There seems to be this common issue or problem, or whatever you want to call it, that comes out of Rutherford County when it comes to me. I tell the truth. I prove the truth. Irrefutable evidence. The cops even prove that I'm innocent with their evidence to come after me. I'm innocent. When I supposedly committed this aggravated burglary, which I didn't, proven by myself, the witness, discovery, so on, my burglary that became aggravated, this supposed burglary, aggravated burglary I committed, I stole a pillowcase, not jewelry, not accused of stealing jewelry or weapons or anything that would get you money if you sold it. A pillowcase. Where did this said pillowcase turn up? Not in my car that was searched and things taken to accuse me of a crime I didn't commit. But where was this pillowcase? On top of a washing machine in the accuser's house. Didn't matter. When you prove people are doing wrong things, especially people with power, they'll do their best to silence you. There's that old saying, the truth will set you free. It may. With a gunshot to the head, to the chest, by an authoritative figure, and they'll do it based on a lie. It's amazing what 15 years of fighting for my son has led to. I've done it right, I've done it legal, and it's ignored. I've reached out to 2 different governors, state reps on the state level and the federal level, the DOJ, the FBI, the TBI, the Civil Rights Division of the DOJ, and I don't know who else because it's so many. The only person who ever showed any interest in helping me was a young woman who worked for State Rep Jesse Chisholm. He's out of Memphis. I was ignored by Rutherford County again and again and again, be it any form of government in Rutherford County, any state rep who's over the district of Rutherford County, and so on. And she tried to help me. Thank you, Mr. Chisholm. I honestly believe that you have a good staff and you should not get rid of them. No, he couldn't do anything because he's over Memphis. But that young woman helped me, and things were made known finally. At least known. Where does one go to when the cops at 2 different police departments, the juvenile court, let me start over, cops at 2 police departments, DAs, ADAs, certain judges, your governor, your reps, state reps, on any level, all ignore you. And nothing's done. Nothing. And everyone's protecting one another from the illegal stuff going on because the lawsuit that could come from it. How long does bad people get to hold their position? Those of you who have come after me wrongly, I do have this one question. When you sold your soul to get that position and do the things you do, and to keep doing those things you do, how long do you think that stuff will go on? When do you think the rug gets swept out from under you? I spent 40 years of my life as a Christian, believing in others, caring, following the teachings of Christ, all this stuff. I'm not a Christian anymore. I was a Christian before I was born when I was swimming around inside my daddy. That's how far back it goes. I'm no longer a Christian, but I've always firmly held, you do right for others. You do right unto others. You stand up and you fight, and you try to do it right. Follow the laws of man, because man can kill you quicker than anything else, or jail you, torture you, and so on. I've always followed the basic, what would be more moral, we're born with tenets. I find it quite disgusting that most of the people whom I've reached out to who claim to be Christians and God-fearing Christ followers aren't doing what you would think they do. Stand up for someone who's being wronged and so on. Do I think all Christians are bad? No. Do I think they're all hypocrites? No. I just had the unfortunate, I unfortunately am surrounded by people who don't care, who happen to be Christians. And I'll end it with this. A long time ago, there was a certain group of people who were saying, help us, help us, help us. We're being wrongly done. Please help us. And then it became, one day they're going to come after you. And it's happening. Now, a whole other group of people are being gone after. And now it's just, if you're poor, not connected, rich, you're screwed. How long must this go on? How long must a father and a child be separated based on lies? How many more times does my life have to be destroyed before it ends? I hope, I really do, that I'm sorry this has taken over 30 minutes to do, but I think it's rather important to touch on everything lightly, but just right. I hope this gets to the right people and this stops. Things are made right. And although my reputation will never be fixed and people will always have some type of fear of me, which I think is wildly absurd, people will make things right. And the right people will get punished. And in the coming days, I'm not gone after again by a slew of cops. I thank you for your time, and I hope the right people get this and they come and help and stop this.